Let's talk about direct variation. So in this question, we're asked to determine if two quantities show direct variation. So in class, we talked about how to do this, but once again, I want to remind you what direct variation is. So direct variation simply describes the relationship between two variables, but in relation to direct variation, we say that y varies directly with x. And the equation we use to represent that is y equals kx. And basically what that tells us is whatever is happening to x, it directly impacts y. And this is one of the ways we can determine if there's direct variation, if we are able to see that equation match up with our given values here. In addition to that, when we're talking about a table of values, each of the values have to have the same slope when given those values. So we can actually use the given values to determine the slope if there is direct variation. If not, it will seem like they have different slopes, although they don't, there's just something else impacting that relationship. All right, so when I divide each of these, I can get the unit rate of 0.33. And it's the same across the board. So that tells me right here that there is direct variation. And now let's say I have to go even further here. Like in this case, it says, if so, find k. Remember, k is the slope. So we have to find the slope now. And we know that slope is equivalent to the change in y over the change in x. So I can really use any of these values given here. I am going to take the one where x is 1 since that's the most simplified one. And therefore, I know my slope is 3 over 1, meaning that when I simplify that, my slope is equal to 3. So if I went even further and it asked me to write an equation here, I just plug in 3 in place of k, and my equation would be y equals 3x. And you can see that's true when you actually plug in these values. When you plug in 1 for x, 1 times 3 is 3, you see that's the answer for y. When you plug in 2 for x, 2 times 3 is 6, so you can see that's the answer for y. So you know that is the correct equation for that. One note I also want to add about anytime you have a table is remember that direct variation, if it is true, our line will pass through the origin. So that means our line will pass through the point of 0, 0. Meaning, if you were given any table that had 0, if the other point is not 0, you can automatically tell that direct variation is not occurring. Okay? All right, so this should set you up for success for the remainder of the problems. Go ahead and keep working.